Say hello to the Sennheiser HD505. These are the new open-back entry-level headphones from Sennheiser, designed to offer a reasonably affordable way into the world of analytical, high-quality wired audio. These sit just below the Sennheiser HD600 in Sennheiser's range, which are a beloved pair of favorites of mine. So I took the time to do a direct comparison between the 505 and the 600 to tell you what you're getting if you step up to the 600 and what the 505 offer. So Sennheiser says, say that 3 times fast, that the HD505 are part of its more analytical range of headphones. It describes itself as having kind of an entry level, a reference level, and a flagship level set of analytical headphones. It also has neutral and warmer headphones, different parts of the range. The analytical range consists of the HD505, the HD600, and the HD800S as the flagship model. The official price of the HD505 is $249 or £229. Making them relatively a lot more entry-level than the $449 or £399 of the HD600. However, one of the reasons I wanted to do this comparison immediately for the launch of the HD505 is that you don't really pay that for the HD600. They are regularly available for closer to $250 or under £250. So actually, these two are in closer competition than you might think. It's possible that the price of these will drop further in the future, but they've just launched. So right now, you're going to be paying full price for these and maybe not that much more for these. The main difference between these headphones, of course, is going to be the sound quality. So Sennheiser says that the changes to the HD505 compared to previous sort of HD500 series options at the analytical end of things is an updated and adapted transducer that is designed to deliver more bass extension, more prominent treble. This is, part of what Sennheiser means when it says that these should deliver analytical sounds. In particular, Sennheiser is looking to add prominent bass that doesn't come in at a higher volume level than the rest of the sound mix. So it should transition smoothly through to the mid-range without overwhelming it at all, but it should still be quite impactful. And the same story for the treble. Basically, it should be particularly prominent compared to some perhaps from the more neutral headphones, but should not be harsh, and again should transition smoothly through to the mid-range. You can hear that in the 505. These are quite bass prominent compared to the HD600 and quite treble prominent. They're nice. To be clear, they don't have this sound profile in a kind of, they sound more like a rocky or poppy set of headphones way. But it does feel like a lot of where the energy is coming from in these headphones is from the nicely extended bass and treble. The bass here feels deeper in some ways than the HD600, and it can kick in with, a real sudden impact. But again, in a very controlled, very good, very natural way. It feels like an ideal addition to the soundstage of these headphones in many ways. The treble is a little more surprising. It is prominent to the point of standing out, kind of putting its head above the parapet. Again, I don't think it's bad in any way. I don't think it's unnatural. It's very clear, it's very precise, it's very defined, and it's expressive. But it is kind of notably prominent. And I don't know if everyone would be expecting that from a pair of headphones considered to be analytical. The HD600 has great bass. It's perhaps not extending quite as deep or quite as impactfully as the 505, but we're talking margins of difference, and I think these are great when it comes to low-end response. It feels odd switching from the prominent treble of the 505 to the slightly more muted version on the HD600, but ultimately I kind of preferred this version, but that will also be tied to the one thing, you separate different parts of the soundstage. This overall has a better constructed and more expansive soundstage. I think that the expansion of the bass and treble in the HD505 is slightly detracting from the mid-range. Doesn't feel quite as cohesive as a total soundscape as the HD600 provides. Now, in theory, the HD600 are more expensive. That's what you'd expect. That's what you get from the reference pair rather than the entry-level pair. But in practice, these cost very similar amounts of money. I was comparing them and, I'm listening to the 505 and kind of going, okay, I'm having fun with this bass, I'm having fun with this treble. These are great. Do I actually prefer these to the HD600? Oh, then I'm listening to a longer section of tracks with the HD600, and then when I'm switching back to the 505, I'm realizing, oh, I'm missing something in the mid-range. And I'm coming back to the 600 and I'm listening to songs that really swell with a great range of instruments and build to something full of acoustic instruments in the mid-range. And I'm so much more transported by an extra touch of musicality, an extra touch of organization of the soundscape, organization of the instruments in a way that gives each of them a bit more space to shine and a bit more space to show their detail on the 600. Obviously, this is all very, very by degrees, very nuanced. I'm looking for the differences because I'm curious what the differences are, as I'm sure you are. That's what I found, is that there is a slightly more, what you might consider fun, slightly more energetic in some ways sound to the HD505, but there is what I think is a better representation of the music, a slightly more enveloping, transporting sound from the HD600 overall. One thing to mention about the HD505 is they have 12 ohm impedance, but because they have quite a high SPL, they're perfectly drivable from something like a smartphone through a mini USB-C DAC. You shouldn't need a headphone amp to drive them. You don't need a headphone amp to drive them. My early testing I have done from my iPhone 16 Pro with a small USB-C DAC, and I had to turn the volume way up. I had to turn the 505 to about 85% of maximum volume that my phone will provide. And then to get the HD600 to what felt like the same volume, I had to turn it up to 90% there, but it was perfectly listenable. That was a good level for me in the TechRadar office, even with people, talking and doing officey things around me. Those sounds were not leaking in so badly that they overwhelmed what I was trying to listen to. Speaking of sounds leaking in, yes, as I mentioned, these are open back headphones. They have a mesh here. They look pretty closed back, but they are not. They are, however, despite the mesh looking quite chunky, they are very lightweight and they are very comfortable. I actually found, for long periods, I think there's a good argument they are slightly more comfortable than the HD600 because I didn't find them that they warmed up my ears and my head quite as much over a longer period. Again, it's kind of a marginal difference, but they are just a little bit svelter in the ear padding. They have a little less clamping force, certainly than some of the other HD500 products as well. That just makes them quite an easy listen. So obviously we're going to dig in and give the HD505 a proper in-depth review for a longer period and compare them to more options that are out there. But I think they come across as definitely good headphones, definitely nice sounding headphones, comfortable, certainly not bad value at all. But, my beloved HD600, given the similarity in price in the real world, these are probably going to be the ones I'm sticking with, probably going to be the ones I recommend to you.